welcome to Soul Symbols. My name is Shelley. I'm a writer, an astrologer, and a card reader, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel. Happy Tuesday. It is How to Tarot Tuesday, and that is where we go through, we pick, we talk about, sorry, I'm not being very articulate. We talk about one of the 78 card tarot. And what I do is the first deck that I pull is always the Rider-Waite-Smith. And the first half of the video is we talk about the meanings in the card. And then the second half of the video, we go ahead and do a reading to see how that card is manifesting in your life. The first deck is always Rider-Waite-Smith. And what that is it's kind of the traditional tarot card where we get the traditional meanings. And then I go ahead and choose two other tarot decks that, based on their image, that I think best represents the card in question. So the first half of the video is normally about 30 minutes long, and what it is it's a tutorial about the meaning of this card, and we go through several examples with different imagery that I think best represents the card that we're discussing. And then the second half of the video, we go ahead and you, the viewer, get to choose from the 3 tarot decks, and we go ahead and see how that card is manifesting in your life currently. So it's a really fun experience. You know, if you've studied, if you are new to tarot and you're learning, it's a great experience. If you are old to tarot and you know tarot a lot, I find myself learning new things with every single video. So I'm so grateful. And a lot of my insights do come from watching other card readers. I'm always in awe of the little nuances that they pull. Like different readers have different perspectives on the way, you know, and on the way that the card manifests itself. And a lot of times it's from experience, you know, from them seeing it in spreads, and it gives it a whole new definition. It gives it a whole new life. So I'm very grateful to do this video series. And at any time, if you want to skip past the how-to part, all of the timestamps are listed in the description box, as are the names and the authors of the decks that I use. When we get to the card reading part, I do clarify using an oracle deck, which you see here. But the first half of the video is just the decks themselves, and it's always Rider-Waite-Smith first. Now, I do have a few brief, really quick announcements, and then we'll jump right into it. I did just want to say thank you to everyone who's been following my channel. Oh my gosh. I've always wanted it's always been my goal to pursue really organic growth. I did not want to be like a huge overnight success with my channel, and I'm very happy. I'm so content with the number of subscribers that I have, and just how beautiful my subscribers are. I'm so grateful for every single one of you. Your comments are so kind. I read every single one of them. And again, I have a day job in addition to this, so sometimes it might be a day or so before I get back to replying to a comment, but I do assure you that you're subscribing to my channel, commenting on my channel, liking the videos. I'm very grateful for that. And I'm kind of in awe because we are talking about the Page of Cups today, and we are in the last suit, so we only have 4 more videos. 4 more weeks, 4 more Tuesdays, and then we are done. Then it's been probably about 2.5 years, and I've done How to Tarot every Tuesday for that time span, and I can't believe we're in the home stretch. I'm really in awe. It's kind of funny, if you've ever seen the movie Julie and Julia, it's an Amy Adams movie where it takes place in modern day, but it's where she recreates, every day she recreates the recipe for one of Julia Child's cookbook recipes, and she blogs about it, and it's funny, the movie is based on a real person, and I really relate to her struggles because, you know, just like if you've participated in a blog sprint or a video, you know, a video sprint, or if you've committed to exercise every day for a month, you know how hard it is. There are some days when you are just worn out, and I feel like this has been a really big journey for me for that, and I'm just really grateful that you've joined me on it. There's definitely been days where I've been a little off par. There's days where if I'm comparing it to the movie, I've dropped the turkey on the floor, you know. and but there's days that we've had the best read ever. So I'm just so amazed. I can't believe we have a month left. That's all. That's where I'm at. I just can't believe that we're a month out from concluding this whole series. And then after I finish the series, I am going to take a little bit of time. I'm going to go back to, I'll still post the weekly energy card readings, so that'll be one video a week. And I definitely will wrap up the videos for the card collection reads. But then I might just keep it at one video a week for a little while, just to kind of take a break and recoup, and then see where the channel's going from there. But I'm so grateful, and this is such a wonderful card to kind of imbue that energy, that kind of radiates that energy, because it's such a sweet, authentic kind of a genuine kind of like inner child place kind of energy. Now, one other announcement that I just wanted to throw out there, just to give you an update, if you've been following my channel, it's amazing. This season, like the sun is in Pisces, to put that astrologer hat on for a minute. The sun is in Pisces, and I always love this time of year. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. First off, because this time of year when the sun is in Pisces, in my natal chart, when sun is in Pisces, it's on my 5th house. So I always just feel really creative. The other thing is that I tend to be, I tend to get, like, I seem to make creative changes in my life around this time of year. I don't know if it's like because it's tax return time. I don't know. But, and so if you followed my channel, what happened was, I lost my dad. He passed away several years ago, and he left me, like, I found his record player, and I found all his records, and I've been in the process of refurbishing, like, fixing his record player. And this does play into the Page of Cups a little bit, where, there seems to be, like, I really trust my gut instinct. Like, when things happen, I just really trust it. I feel like it's the universe kind of sending me a sign. And it's interesting. His record player had been up in the attic for a long time, not too long, but the way that we found it was really interesting. I was going through all of his records, and one of our favorite records, like one of the records that just meant the world to us, it's called Jim Croce's Photographs and Memories. It's definitely a 70s thing, but we connected over that music so much growing up. I remember it being played on our record player, and on that record player that I'm fixing. And it was not in the record sleeve. And I ended up going up in the attic and finding it. And it's funny, my mom used to fuss at him about this. He used to like to leave records on the record player, but the record player had a cover on it, so the record was fine. But I ended up discovering both the missing vinyl LP and the record player at the same time. So I'm submitting the record player right now. I have to wait about 6 to 8 weeks. It is with the record repair shop. It's like at the electronics repair shop. But the funny thing is that the record player has one foot. And if you know electronics, especially when it's a turntable, turntables have to be very level. It's part of the dynamics of it playing well, right? A lot of the new record players are very quality. You know, there's nothing wrong with them. It's just there's kind of a dynamic to the 70s record player. Like, if you want one that is like professional grade, and this dad's he was so picky about his electronics, especially when it came to music. But the funny thing is that his record player has one good foot. And I felt like it was a sign from the universe. I went on eBay. There's somebody selling the other 3 foot. He has 3 feet, and my record player has 1. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so it's not so much a bidding war, but the person wants $29 a foot, and that's a little pricey for me. So if I can get him down to $15 a foot, right now he's down to $20 a foot. So I'm hoping I can kind of barter and counter offer a little bit. So please send me good vibes. I'm not trying to cheat anybody, but you know, it would be like $70 just to buy feet for this thing. But the repair is going so well. I'm waiting. I'm kind of waiting and watching. I'm hoping to by the first week in March. I'm going to be hearing back from the technician, and he'll be letting me know the general cost to have the original record player repaired. And I'm hoping it's not too expensive, but I have a budget in mind, and I sincerely hope that it goes well, because what I'm doing is there's records in the collection that were my dad's, that were my mom's. There's really some rare ones from my sister, like not to, we got like some Prince Purple Rain in there, and it's pretty wild. Like the original one, the Flashdance album, oh my God. But there's some really wonderful LPs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add the LPs that, as a tradition, like a family tradition, I'm going to go ahead and add the ones that were meaningful in my life. So, but I thought that it really kind of bridged into this, because the Page of Cups is really about trusting your intuition. It's like those little flashes of insight that you get when it's, I always say it's kind of like following the white rabbit, like in Alice in Wonderland. It will lead you to where you need to go. That little nudge of instinct. But we're going to get into that. We're going to talk all about that. But thank you for listening to my spiel. We're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Today we are talking about the Page of Cups. Now, when you look at the Page of Cups, you see a young person who's wearing kind of like a tunic. And what's amazing is, like, on the tunic you see a theme of blue and pink, which is really kind of like the balance between masculine and feminine. It's like balance between yin and yang. What I love is that the tunic is a really kind of blue color. It does almost look like a fish in itself. And the person looks very young. They don't look like a child, but they don't quite look like a teenager. In the background, you see water that's kind of going up and down. It's not as high a tide as like the Two of Pentacles. It's not like up and down, but it's got quite a bit of motion to it. And then you see the person holding a cup, and popping out of the cup, you see a fish. And the fish almost looks kind of happy, kind of like, hello, So you see a very interesting scene when you see the Page of Cups. Now, when you look at this, you think of someone who is innocent, right? You think of someone who's very innocent. And when you think of cups, you think of emotions. So you think of someone who's innocent with their emotions. The other thing that you kind of get is that this person being dressed a little bit more like a page, you think of someone who is being kind of emotional in a very childlike sense, right? All the pages in the tarot are learners. It is about like a new beginning or the start of something, but a lot of the first and foremost, it means kind of an increased emotional sensitivity to something. It's almost like experiencing some kind of sensatory emotional experience from the perspective of a child, and that can be your inner child or it can be a real child. Now, it also kind of means just kind of letting your feelings show, like not being guarded, kind of being emotionally vulnerable. A lot of times it can be like it can be like love and warmth that kind of has just a real kind of friendly and kind of open, like again, unguarded, someone who's making some kind of connection in a sensitive way. A lot of times, and again, this time of year, with the sun and all the planets going through Pisces in my 5th house, I kind of feel like I definitely get really in my feels. I do get a little bit more, I get a little bit more open in the way. You can even hear it in my voice. I'm not like filtering out my words. And that's kind of like the page energy, because just like the other pages, and we've had a tarot on the other pages, on the Page of Wands and the Page of Pentacles and the Page of Swords, pages are very childlike. And you've heard the expression "out of the mouths of babes." This is someone who is just saying what they feel, right? And it's almost in a real innocent way. It's like in a very uninhibited way. And this is actually a great story. Just yesterday, I kind of went on a day trip. I've been very careful about social distancing. It's definitely masking up, 6 feet, avoiding closed spaces outside. But I took a trip to there's a seaside. I live near a bay, and we went to a friend of mine and I went walking around the waterfront, and there's so many really wonderful little stores at the waterfront. And I went to go to the record store. There was a really great record store there. And while we were there, there's also a very renowned hat store. And I know this sounds crazy, but I've been, listening to music and, when you, just like I said, I'm repairing my father's record player, and I'm adding albums that meant something to me in my life. And when you ask yourself the question, okay, what music defined your childhood or your adult life, like what was the music that really meant something to you? I feel like that's such a Page of Cups thing, because music speaks to you. And I do think I really do feel like cups and water and music and emotions are kind of in the same element. It's funny in astrology, a lot of you see a lot of musicians have either Taurus or Virgo in their chart, which is an earth sign, but you do also see a little bit more of the more sensitive and emotive kind of musicians have either Pisces or Scorpio or Cancer in their chart. Don Henley of the Eagles was an English major, and all of his lyrics, he has a lot of Gemini and Cancer. So he has a lot of deep emotive that he expresses in words. Prince, the artist formerly known as Prince, he had a whole stellium of Gemini and Pisces, which square each other. But it's like that's like his mouth had no filter. He emoted in these almost dreamlike narratives and lyrics. Who else? My goodness. You do see that kind of, you see a lot of the more kind of flashy kind of artists like Madonna and Lady Gaga. You see that more of squares between the fixed signs of Taurus and Leo, because they have that exuberance, but then they have that really great voice. I can also say that musicians that have any type of Taurus in the voice, because the Taurus does rule the throat, they like Adele, Taurus voice for sure. And it's interesting. Gwen Stefani, she has a very unique voice, but she has a Venus in Virgo, and her Saturn is in Taurus, which I think is kind of exalted because Saturn is ruled by Capricorn, which is an earth sign, but then it's in another earth sign of Taurus, and it makes a trine, it makes a supportive aspect to her Venus. But long story short, we went into this hat store on the way to the record store, and I just love speaking to artisans, like people who are really specialized in things. I know so many things are mass produced nowadays that you can just go online and buy it, and you really don't have any, when the reason that you love Etsy so much is because things are made by hand and people understand the aspects, the process of creating something. And that's also a Page of Cups thing, feeling emotionally or feeling kind of, it's a very dreamy kind of aspect, but it's feeling emotionally connected to something. But I'm sorry, I'm getting to a point with this. We went into the hat store and I started talking to the sales lady who was very knowledgeable, and it was just amazing. I saw all these, again, fixing my dad's record player. I really have been thinking a lot about music, and I'm a teenager of the 90s. So I've been really thinking about the fashion also of the 80s and 90s, and we started talking about hats. And there's a very famous kind of hat that's a newsboy or a page boy. And what it is in the 90s, it's probably not fashionable now, but it was then. To wear it to the side and to wear it kind of poofed out was very, very trendy. And they had leather hats like that there. And it was funny. I felt like walking in there, I was talking about all sorts of weird stuff. It really was kind of Page of Cups energy. I was really emoting to it. And I felt like a kid again. I'm talking about, 90s fashion, and I'm talking about music, and Seeing all the newsboy hats stacked up also reminded me of a story that I used to read in the third grade called Caps for Sale. But long story short, I ended up having this really deep conversation, and it was funny. I was really not filtering what was coming out of my mouth very much. It was almost like I was just spouting anything that came through my head. But the amazing thing is that I was really connecting to people on an emotional level. I don't think that all of the people I interacted with yesterday at the record store and at the hat store. I did end up buying that hat, by the way. It was really cute. I don't know if I look 90s hip or look like the Joker, but please, I think it's cool. And honestly, it's very comfortable. But I felt like all of the connections that I had were just in a very innocent way. And it was in the Page of Cups energy where I was letting my feelings show. I was not holding back at all. I was responding to beauty, and I was responding to artisanship, and I was kind of holding out my cup, and what we talk about a lot, and in a minute when we talk about that fish popping out, that fish is kind of surprising, right? Like we've talked about all of the cups, and the Queen of Cups holds a cup, the King of Cups hold a cup, but the page is the only one that has a fish popping out of the cup, right? It's almost kind of like a surprise. Right? So I think all the people that I talked to were surprised with my candor, my emotional openness, right? So, and we'll touch back on that in just a minute. But it is about being kind of sentimental or romantic. It can be nostalgia, the way that I was kind of connecting to the past. It was not being picky about anything. One thing that you see and one thing that you'll notice is that all of them are children, and I love decks that depict the page as a child, um, because it really can mean a child, and we'll get to that in a minute. But it is that, my mom always has that saying of being, kind of being silly like a child. And, but she doesn't mean it in a condescending way. She means being that kind of uninhibited, open, letting your heart kind of lead the way is the energy. A lot of times it can be a discussion about feelings. And again, there's a vulnerability to this. It can be kind of like, the other thing is that can be kind of surprising if someone, the pages are messengers, and this is kind of a message of love, but it's surprising. Maybe someone contacts you and you're not expecting them to contact you. And then they say something that's very vulnerable. Maybe they say, oh, I was missing you, or I was thinking about you, and it totally takes you off guard. Um, a lot of times, the pages are learners. So sometimes it can be maybe you're learning to be more expressive with your emotions. It can be, kind of that, it can be if you're talking to a therapist or something like that, maybe you're learning to be a little bit more open. It can be like learning to be intuitive, because the cups are emotions. So maybe you're trying to, this can be a sign of you're learning how to meditate. Maybe you're learning yoga or something that kind of connects you to your intuition. Um, a lot of times it's taking guidance from within. Like, I do take this as like when this comes up in a read, again, that little surprising kind of thing. It's funny how I get those little psychic hits. I don't channel, like I don't consider myself a psychic or an intuitive, but it's amazing how I will on a gut level kind of be drawn to something. Like, for instance, I like to scrapbook, and it's amazing how I'll be at the craft store and I'll be looking at paper, and I'll see this like 12 by 12 piece of paper, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, the other day, this actually happened the other day. It was like this bright multicolored tie-dye piece of paper, and I was like, well, I'm not going to use that. I don't have any things that I need to scrapbook, but something in my gut was saying, you need to buy this, you're going to need this. And it's amazing how when I listen, when I follow that intuition, a few days later, the exact thing that I needed comes about, right? And what happened was I had this cute interaction with my niece, and that tie-dye paper is going to go for that spread. And if I had not followed my instinct, I wouldn't have it on hand to do this, to do the spread of paper. The other thing is just like, just like I was watching videos from the 90s, it tied into a record player, and then I went to the hat store and bought a hat. It's kind of like that. And it's funny, my hat almost looks like this a little bit too, when it's on the side. But it is, sometimes it can be those little gut instincts where you're just, you act on a hunch, or you just kind of follow. Again, it's like follow the white rabbit, like from Alice in Wonderland. It'll take you on an adventure, but it'll lead you where you're meant to go. Sometimes it can be having kind of vivid dreams. Again, the Page of Cups, especially with the fish, I really think of Piscean energy. And it's interesting. My best friend is a Pisces, and it's interesting. In astrology, there's something called a grand trine, and what that is you have three planets. In every element in astrology, there's a cardinal, which is the leader planet. That's Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn. There's a fixed, which are the get it doners, and that's the Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius, Leo. And then you've got the mutables, which are the communicative ones, which tends to be page energy, right? So, and that's the Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, and who am I forgetting? Virgo. So that's where, these being the communicators and being the water element, I think of Pisces. But there's something called a grand trine. And what it is if you have two of the planets, like in my chart, I have Cancer and I have Scorpio in very strong placements. My best friend has a stellium, like 5 planets in Pisces. And she completes me. Like, she's the one sign that I do not have in my own chart. And when we get around each other, the energy I feed her and the energy she feeds me, it's almost like it's like a triangle. We just put this beam of energy and we do get into trouble. Oh my God. And we're actually connecting over records right now. She gave me she called me today and it was so great. She's like, I have a record store next to me. You want to go? And I'm like, oh yeah, do it. So we do, but Pisces energy really kind of rules the unconscious. It does rule past lives, and it also rules dreams. And so a lot of times it can be that you're getting kind of instincts, or you're getting communication through dreams. It might be that you're having these weird dreams. And, I always encourage, keep a notebook next to your bedside where you can write down, things that you see in a dream. Sometimes it can be experiencing like a direct knowing. Again, like the universe is like sending you signals and they're using you as a conduit. And I don't want that to sound too woo-woo. You always have free will. It's not like, it's not like aliens are beaming something into your brain. But the universe communicates with you. And whatever your higher power, if you believe in God, if you believe in angels, if you believe in those who have passed over, they can send you messages through unconscious inklings. And if you're not as comfortable with that, they can send it through dreams for sure, because that's the 5D, right? That's that other realm when you are in your dream state. But a lot of times it is just, it's having, the other thing is that it can be having a very creative imagination. Again, just kind of being dreamy in that sense. Maybe you have a really deep imagination. Maybe you create dream worlds. I've said before on the channel, if you ever look at the chart of J.R.R. Tolkien, he has a Virgo Gemini square, but then he also has Pisces. It's like a 3-way square in opposition. And he used to create languages, and he created in his own imagination, he created the entire world of Lord of the Rings. And he did it he had a lot of conflict. He had a lot of austerity. He didn't have a lot of money in his life. And it's almost like he escaped in his imagination. And that's kind of like the Page of Cups energy. It's like escaping into a world that is your own. Now, the second deck I went with is the Witch's Tarot by Ellen Dugan. And again, I love this imagery. I love it when the pages are depicted as children. And look at this, you have a crest of a wave, and then you have a little girl. I just think it's so sweet. A lot of tarot decks are not gender, are gender neutral, or sometimes you do see the pages depicted as Daughter of Cups or Daughter of Wands. But I just think it's so cute because a lot of times, it is talking about kind of imagination and inspiration. It can be that really dreamy, like if you're a more dream oriented person. And again, it being cups, it's kind of something that it's a dream that you have in your emotional heart of hearts. So a lot of times it's not practical, but when you think about all goals in life, where does it begin? It begins with a daydream, right? So Page of Cups can mean that you're daydreaming. It can be like you're meditating or you're going into kind of an introversion. If you see this next to the hermit, maybe you're really pulling away and just kind of, creating your own space. Um, it's interesting. Sometimes the Page of Cups, in a situational sense, can be that you are making space for your own emotional kind of. Um, you know how sometimes you do have to kind of pull back and be in your own bubble? I see a lot of artists that are like this when they get into their craft room or get into their paint room. Or if you're a person, like even if you're a grown adult, when you kind of pull away, you kind of go into your own place. It's almost like a little bubble that's safe for you to be creative and safe for you to feel emotionally at home, right? And that's why Pisces kind of really connects with Cancer, the sun sign of the astrological sign of Cancer, because you kind of go into your own world, so to speak. But the one thing about the Page of Cups is that, just like Pisces, Scorpios are scorpions and they have a shell, right? Because they're the get it done folks. And then Cancers are represented by the crab, and they have a shell. Pisces don't have a shell. They swim away, right? And the reason that they swim away is because they're again unguarded, right? You don't have any shield up. And you're sensitive in that sense where you're just open to the world. So a lot of times this can be introversion. It can be you pulling into yourself. It can be making space for your own daydreams. A lot of times you can see this as being, going into your room or going into your space to get away from the rest of the world. It can be your own sanctuary. Like, and especially with this being so communicative, maybe you journal, maybe you write, maybe you paint, you draw, you scrapbook, maybe you listen to music. Whatever you do to get away and kind of daydream, and when you think about it, when you listen to music, the other thing is that with Pisces, it can be photography. So maybe you work on pictures, or you take pictures, or you see the world through your own kind of lens. The other thing is maybe you like movies or TV shows. That's the other thing, is that, when you create up storylines in your own head, you have those daydreams about your favorite characters. That's very much a Page of Cups energy. A lot of times it's just a thoughtfulness, or, someone doing something kind of kind for you. And in a minute, we'll talk about it in a circumstantial sense. But the last thing that it can kind of mean is that also you might be kind of, it could be like a surprise that comes in a kind of, like a spurt of inspiration to you that stems from your daydreams. Like maybe you're watching your favorite TV show, and you're exposed to a premise of something, and you take that idea and run with it in your dreams, right? The other thing is that it can be a lot of daydreaming, like in the Walter Mitty kind of sense, where you're a dreamy person, but you're very imaginative. The other thing is sometimes it can be inspiration, from a friend, or one of those sweet kind of emotional things. Just like my friend called me up today and said, "Oh, look at the records I bought. Let's go to the record store." Kind of that sweet connecting over something. Connecting emotionally over shared interest is definitely a Page of Cups concept. Now, the last one is so freaking adorable. And actually, I love this for two reasons. First off, this is the Slow Tarot by Lacey Bryant. And if you've watched my recent videos, Lacey Bryant is an artist from Southern California. I highly encourage, if you ever get a chance, if you want, check her out on Instagram and on Facebook. She's so prolific, she's so friendly, and she's so talented. Right now, she helped create ox, like ceramic ox that was painted by her and other artists for the Year of the Ox in San Francisco, California. And then she also posts pictures of murals that she does for community service, like she helps paint buildings. And then she also created a tarot deck. And I think her page of cups is just the cutest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. You see this cute little boy, and you see like a fish popping out of a cup. It's just the most adorable thing that I've ever seen in my life. From the moment I saw it, I knew this was going to be in the How to Tarot. And I also just think, talking about a page of cups, artisans just fall into that. So I feel like Lacey just so falls into this category. But the last thing is that, again, with the page being new and being kind of innocent and open, pages can definitely be like a kind of a very innocent connection of love. Like it can be the beginning of something. So it can be the start of a love affair. Again, it can be those little texts where you start talking to someone and they're like, oh, you like this TV show? I love that TV show. When you start to get those little threads that start to connect you, almost like those little bonding kind of, you start to have, what am I thinking of? What's the word I'm looking for? This little connections that you have that become the bond. It starts small, but you start connecting to someone over it. A lot of times it can be when you meet someone new and you're really attracted to them on an emotional level. When you start to get closer to someone, and this usually is when you start getting past that kind of outer shell of formality. Like you're not just talking about you're not just talking about the weather. You're talking about like deep things, like, oh, my favorite color is this. What's your favorite color? What do you think about this? And you just really start to create that bond between two people. You start to, a lot of times it is like a special moment of togetherness. And again, with the fish popping out, it's usually a surprise. Sometimes it can be like a happy emotional news, like you see someone get engaged, or you hear about, I always think of the Page of Cups as being those little, I call them smile of the days. I post it on my Instagram and on my Facebook, but it's those little moments that just make me smile, that are just little emotional everyday things. Like maybe your child did something really cute, your dog is making a cute face. I like to watch, I follow a channel called Disapproving Corgis, and it's the cutest thing. The disapproval is so adorable. And I think today, what was it? I saw it was this picture where all you saw was the little nose of the corgi, and the rest of it was covered. Like he's laying on the bed, and the owner kind of put the top blanket over him, but left the nose exposed. And he's like, he disapproves when I make the bed with him still in it, And it's those little happy posts that just make you smile and just give you the warm and fuzzies. Sometimes it can be when you're sharing something really personal with someone. Like again, that vulnerability. It's like you're being open like a child. Like you have no boundaries, right? You have no shell. You have no guard up. A lot of times it can just be a loving gesture. Sometimes it's expressing sympathy or understanding to someone. A lot of times when you see this in a read, a lot of times it can be when you're just being extra patient and empathetic with someone. Maybe someone's in a really bad mood, and you're being kind and listening and patient with that person, even though they're being frustrated. Just that little touch of empathy, that kindness that's so needed, which is very Piscean, by the way. I always say, I have a Venus in Virgo, and my friend who has the stellium in Pisces, God, she is so good at getting me to come to put the checklist down. Like she gets me to mellow out, and that's important. Sometimes it doesn't matter how things are done, or that things are done to a T. Sometimes it just matters. What is that? I always think of the saying that says, if you have a choice between being right and being kind, be kind. And I definitely think of that when I see the Page of Cups. Be kind. It doesn't matter the outcome. It matters the the thoughtfulness that you give, the emotional compassion. That's the other thing. Compassion is a big keyword here. Sometimes this can be forgiving yourself. It's amazing how, like, psychologically, a lot of times when you're either feeling jealous or resentful, sometimes when you feel guilty, what it really is that you feel like you did something wrong, and what you have to do is forgive yourself. Either that, or sometimes you see the Page of Cups in those contexts where you feel like you did something wrong, but when you really think about it, it's like, okay, if my best friend did the same thing to me, would I really be holding a grudge about it? If the answer is no, then you need to forgive yourself. It's almost like you have to give yourself the same compassion that you would give someone else. And that's how you heal, right? Sometimes this can be a method of healing, like you're learning how to connect with your inner child. But the other thing is that sometimes it can be an apology. Like maybe you were in a snappy mood or you did something. So it's like it is, someone reaching out and being kind of like, I was wrong, I'm sorry. Sometimes it can be the first offering to mend a broken relationship, or the first kind of connection after a fight, like that person. You know how it is when you've had a fallout with someone and someone kind of does that sweet little, that first little peeking. And again, like the fish, it's kind of like peeking around the corner going like, okay, you still mad? Can I approach you? And it is them not having their guard up. It's a vulnerable position because you're approaching someone with, in the name of peace. It is kind of like that fig leaf, like the dove of peace. Sometimes it can be reaching out and touching someone who's angry. Sometimes, so it could be approaching someone who's apprehensive, but you're doing that in that really kind of gentle way. I do see this card come up a lot with sheltering animals, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And it's also refusing to engage. Sometimes people will approach you in a real nasty, kind of negative way, and you're not going to take on that negative energy. You're staying open and kind and sweet. You're refusing to let your aura get tainted, right? You're going to stay in your positive energy. And the other thing I get is that you see this a lot with those people who are just so good-hearted that they refuse to condemn or judge anyone. It is a little bit of that, those who live in glass houses throw the first stone. It's a lot of people who have that kind of emotional sensitivity where they refuse to berate someone else. And these folks tend to have they have the patience of a saint. They really are just like, really have a heart of gold is really what you think. But sometimes sometimes it can be you expressing an artistic ability, but usually it's kind of in a new sense, like maybe you're learning something new. Now, when it comes to situation or advice, it can be an announcement of a birth of a child. It can be wedding plans or an engagement. It can be that smile of the day where someone kind of sends you something that just brightens your whole world. It could be a joke or a meme, or their child did something cute, their dog did something cute. It can be you learning a new creative thing. Like maybe you're starting to learn something that's really creative, and the other thing is you're surprised at how well you're learning it. It could be a thoughtful gesture. It's interesting. We're in pandemic world, and I sent out a bunch of Valentines, and my coworkers are so kind. I sent the Valentines to the main office, and then the main office must have forwarded it to anybody who was working remotely. And it's so sweet. I'm starting to get like emails and text messages that says thank for the Valentine. And even though it's like 2 weeks later, it's like that little message in your inbox that just gives you the warm and fuzzies, like you're welcome, happy belated Valentine's Day. It's kind of like that. Again, it can be that text message from that person that you really like. It can be you connecting over something that you feel emotionally really happy about, like a TV show or a movie or a photo, or the other thing is that it can be it can be that surprise little moment that I always say, from the mouth of babes, it can be like a surprising little thing that just kind of popped out of the blue. It can definitely be an instinct that came out of the blue. And so anytime the Page of Cups come up, follow your intuition. If you're feeling that little nudging, either that, or if you're seeing a symbol. If you're seeing a symbol, just like my dad's record player with the feet, or you're at the craft store store and something's telling you, go ahead and pick that up, you might want to follow that. Even if it seems like, again, I think of symbols like dream interpretation, even though it seems like it's out in left field and you have no idea why that's popping into your head. Sometimes it can be a song lyric or like the radio turning on and then you hear something that really speaks to you. Again, it's like this little subconscious subliminal kind of hits that you may want to pay attention to because they have a clue contained. The other thing is that when it represents people, it can be a real affectionate child. It can be a little Pisces. It could be a little water baby who's just always sweet. I do see this as someone who, this is like the child who is really creative or really emotional, who runs up and gives you a hug. A friendly, it can be a friendly, helpful kind of child. It's funny when my little niece was baby, she used to like to cuddle up and she used to just like kind of rub your arm. And that was, I always think of that when I see the Page of Cups. It's like that kind of emotional connection. It can also be a little bit more of a sensitive child, someone who is in their head or in their dreams, or has a creative talent that is expressed from a very young age. Sometimes you can be entering into a new a new stage of emotional development. You could be learning meditation or learning some kind of practice that gets you in touch with your intuitiveness. You might be seeing signs on a very simple level of an innate kind of psychic ability. Again, you might be getting those kind of intuitive hits, and you want to pay attention to that because it's the start of something. The other thing is that it can be sensitivity in the sense that you might have a little one who, and just to put it out there, if you do have a child who is a male child who's more sensitive, this sometimes is a sign because the page, especially in the traditional Rider-Waite, is a little bit androgynous. It could be a child that's showing the first signs of either being transgender, bisexual, or homosexual. And so just to throw it out there again, or vice versa, if you see a child who's exhibiting the more of the aspects of another gender and you think that they might flip or switch, but when it comes to, but when it comes to the upright, it usually just means a really sweet, sensitive little water baby who is just always. The other thing I always get is that sometimes this can be the sign, and especially depending on the reading, this could be a pet. I also do attribute this to have you ever been sad or hurt? Maybe you came out from surgery and your dog is like curling up to you because they know you're in pain. Either that or your child, like your little toddler who can't even talk and can barely walk, is walking up to you and like hugging your leg, almost like they're consoling you. That's the sign of a child who has that kind of emotional attunement where they know that you're in pain and they're there to comfort you. And that's definitely a Page of Cups kind of energy. Now, when you look at this in the reverse, anytime a card is in the reverse, it can either mean that the energy is manifesting in kind of a negative way, or the energy is blocked and just not expressing itself correctly. Now, sometimes when it comes to the page, sometimes that can be a little bit of spaciness. Like when I see that in the reverse, I can kind of see that dreaminess that's almost in a negative sense. Sometimes, and this is true, and I believe me, I know the negative sign in my own chart. I have the astrological sign of Cancer and Scorpio, and so the negative of Cancer is being moody. The negative of Scorpio is being a little vindictive or a little controlling, emotionally, also emotionally really guarded, defensive. But the negative of Pisces and the negative of the Page of Cups is being a little spacey to the point that they're frivolous. Like this can be the sign of someone who's just not good with money. They might be, kind of not like putting the proper thought into something. Like not, what this is it's almost the antithesis of being practical. So sometimes it can be that frivolousness where I do kind of see it as being that let's throw it at the wall and see if it sticks. Sometimes it can be that child who's just floating away on daydreams. They're doing this one minute and then the next minute they're doing something else, where, they're just kind of floating about. Sometimes it can be, because this is an emotional card, sometimes it can be those negative, surprising outbursts where it can be someone who's throwing a tantrum, or a child who's a little bit more moody than normal. So sometimes it can be a spoiled child that, not in a bad way, but that's just kind of throwing a fit. Sometimes it can be an unhappiness that just seems to stem from a really primal level, and the person can't really articulate it well. It's almost like they can't communicate their emotions. And sometimes it can be like living in a world of fantasy where you're really, again, it's almost a little bit delirious or just a little too out of touch. Sometimes it can be escapism. If you see the Page of Cups in reverse next to like a card that kind of means escapism through some type of substance, it can be smoking, it can be drinking, it can be, drug use. That would be definitely more of a negative, because, you're trying to get away. Sometimes you see the Page of Cups in those circumstances where someone feels like they can't get away. Like sometimes it can be that reality is so harsh that you want to get away. And when we get into circumstances, we'll elaborate on that. But sometimes it can be a little bit of isolation. It can be someone who's kind of trapped in their own dreams where they don't really connect with the real world. Sometimes it can be shallowness, and I know that seems like a kind of a weird keyword for this, but shallowness in the sense that, again, it's almost like you're not putting like a real world value on things. It's almost like you're not giving anything like practical consideration. So shallowness can definitely be that. I usually see that more in kind of a financial way, because emotions or cups is the opposite of earth or pentacles, and pentacles is about practicality. So sometimes if you see a Page of Cups, that can definitely be the wife or the child that are just like, well, I want to do this now, well, I want to do that now, well, just go ahead and pay for this, it doesn't matter, but it does matter. We don't want to just be throwing money at the wall. We don't want to the other thing I kind of get is that they just seem to not grasp what you're telling them. Like if you say, okay, we need to do this, it's going to cost this much, okay, it's kind of like that. It's like not really, they're not putting any, they're not being practical. And it's funny, in an astrological sense, they always say the opposite, the opposite of Pisces is Virgo. And Stephen Forrest, who is a great astrologer, I actually had the pleasure of taking a class with him, even said, the cure for Pisces is Virgo. The cure for Virgo is Pisces. So when someone's exhibiting a negative Piscean thing, they're not really considering the details of something, and that's where the Virgos can come in and be like, okay, you need a little bit of a checklist, you're kind of lost in left field, let me rein you in a little bit, right? And same thing vice versa. When we start getting too nitpicky, the Pisces are like, okay, is this going to matter in 5 minutes? You need to let it go. Let it go, let it go, you know but so sometimes it can manifest in like an irresponsibility. In an emotional sense, we talked about connecting on an emotional level. Sometimes it can be a little bit of promiscuity, just meaning that that same emotional connection that you had with one person, you might it's like those text messages that don't have any value, because you're like, oh, you love that TV show, that's my favorite TV show, and then you go over to the next person, oh, you like that TV show, that's my favorite. You're kind of giving, you're not being selective, and the other thing is you're being too open, right? It's the exaggeration of this energy. It's beautiful to connect to people on an emotional level, but if you're not putting up any healthy boundaries, that can get you into trouble, and that is almost childlike in a naive way. Sometimes it can be a deception that's revealed. And again, because it's a page, it's a very innocent energy, but sometimes it's a very irresponsible energy, because it's like someone being frivolous with your emotions or being frivolous with their emotions. Sometimes it can be muddled thinking, or just failure to have a good plan. Like you're building, castles in the air where, you really need to get a game plan. Otherwise you're just going to continue to drift, right? Sometimes it can be lethargy or, just kind of, if you see this next to a card that might mean depression, it can definitely be that kind of just like that lack of motivation and you just don't know where it stems from, you just feel, you kind of feel like a lazy child. Sometimes it can be an unhappy child. So, if this really does mean a baby or a little one, sometimes it can be one who's choleric or, chronic. What is a colicky baby? Like one who's just always fussy. It seems like they're just never emotionally satisfied. I often see this in the reverse when it's that what's been going on is that, you change the diaper, they're not hungry, they've been fed, they've got a clean diaper, you're cuddling them, but they're still crying. You don't know what the source of their emotional discontent is. The other thing is that it can be throwing the baby out with the bathwater, where you're making these kind of knee jerk, things like, oh well, I've spent $500 on painting supplies, but I'm not doing that anymore, or okay, well I've been talking to this person for 5 months, I'm not interested in them anymore. Okay, let me just ghost them. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like being again, it's being kind of all or nothing or just kind of being flippant and not really considering you're being real quick with your emotional actions. And again, it's like that fish popping out, like that's a surprise in a negative sense. It's a little bit, the other thing I kind of get from that is that you're swinging from one idea or one action to the other without any real grounding energy to it. Sometimes it can be diminished in social interactions where, again, you're just, pulling away. The other thing is that sometimes this can be a teenager or a young child that has drug or addiction problems. Or you getting out of control, or maybe you're indulging a little too much with certain things, and that can be anything. That can be food and drink, that can be smoking, weed or cigarettes, it can be alcohol, or more serious addictions. Now, when it comes to situations or advice in the reverse, the first thing I think of, and I know this is kind of sad, but have you ever seen home situations or domestic situations that are really hostile, where you feel like it's almost like if your parents are fighting or something, it's almost like you can't escape, right? You go into your room, you put on the headphones to get away, or possibly a child that goes to school participates in art to kind of exercise all of the negative emotions that they experience at home or in some situation in their life, right? Sometimes it can be, a child that is a little bit more capricious, that someone who is not expressing their emotional energy, it's almost like they find it hard to do that. It can be someone who's trying to get through a tough emotional time. Like, you can be an adult in this energy. Maybe, you went through a loss or a bad breakup and your therapist's like, hey, journal every day, and you're trying to journal and nothing's coming out. It just feels like a blocked kind of outlet. Again, maybe, again, you might be having a real cavalier attitude towards something, like, okay, whatever, you're throwing off, the other thing is I kind of get throwing off responsibility. If you see the Page of Cups in the reverse next to the Seven of Swords, be afraid, because that's just really, that's being unreliable. And that's being like emotionally just kind of childish. But sometimes it can be the start of a relationship that's fading away. Again, maybe you had some good text conversations or phone conversations and you really felt a connection to someone, and then they just stop talking to you, they ghost, or they disappear, or it just doesn't go any further, and it just, it feels like the beginning of something just ended. Um, you know, um, there can be a decrease of your social activity. Sometimes this can be a sign that maybe you're not spending enough time doing the creative things that make you happy. If you see this next to like a work card, like if you see the Page of Cups in reverse next to like the Eight of Pentacles, you're working way too much and you're not getting a chance to like, get your artistic kind of feelings out. The other thing that it can be is that you might feel like your intuition is blocked. Like you're not dreaming, you almost feel like the world is just so austere. That's the other thing I kind of get, is just you are all about the real world. You don't allow yourself to dream. You're not having real dreams. It's almost like you're not letting yourself tap into that real imaginative kind of, getting psychic hits kind of feeling. Now, when it comes to a person in the reverse, it can definitely, again, as we said, it can be a spoiled child. It can be someone who has addictions to something. It can be someone who lives in a fantasy world or is more of a dreamer. Sometimes it can be a visionary in kind of an out there kind of way. Maybe someone's really, they're walking around with tinfoil hat, like, okay, I believe in aliens, kind of that feeling. Like they almost seem kind of ridiculous in the way that, in what they believe or what they're running around, spouting. Sometimes it can be someone who's real confused. It can be a sign of emotional kind of problems. Like maybe if there are conditions where sometimes people can't control their anger, or they have emotional outbursts. It can be a sign of a child who has depression or something like that. It can be the sign of an unhappy child or someone who has a lot of trauma going on at home. It can be your inner child if you're trying to heal kind of childhood wounds and you're having a tough time kind of connecting or trying to exercise those memories. It can be a really immature emotional child, like someone who acts out or just, doesn't conduct themselves very well emotionally. One other thing is, in the reverse, sometimes it can be just an emotionally inconsiderate child, like ones who don't care about the emotions of others. Sometimes if you see this next to wands, and especially in reverse, it could be a child who's hitting others, or they just don't have that emotional empathy for how they're affecting other people. The other thing is that, it can be the sign of a child of divorce or a tough home life. It can be someone who's distracted or is living in their dream world because things are so harsh at home. The other thing is that sometimes it can be someone who's out to give you an emotional heartache. Like, this can be in the reverse, be those little emotional digs. Like maybe someone posts something on Facebook that's personal to you and they're out to make you feel bad. So almost like the opposite. They're not trying to connect to you emotionally. They're trying to get their digs in emotionally. So it can be gossip or, taking little, personal things that are trying to bring you down. And then last but not least, it usually just means kind of like an emotionally lazy or kind of selfish person who's thinking about their needs. They have no intention of connecting to others. But usually in the upright or the reverse, the Page of Cups is a beautiful energy. It talks about, psychic insight. It talks about little smiles of the day, of cuddles and thoughtfulness, and just something that's really going to make you at your emotional core feel good in a surprising way. But all right, guys, so that concludes the how-to part. We have three awesome decks here. The first deck we have is the Rider Waite Smith deck by AGM. It's AG Mueller Company, and with it we have a beautiful Sunstone. The second deck is the Witch's Tarot by Ellen Dugan, and with it we have a beautiful Citrine. The third deck is the Slow Tarot by Lacey Bryant, and we have a gorgeous Bloodstone. And for clarifying, I decided to go ahead and go with the Inquire Within deck, which is an Etsy created deck. And this was so cute. I thought this was sweet because it's almost like intuitive messages, like little pulses of little one word or keyword sayings. And I thought this was so great. At the bottom of the deck, it says "Staying Alive," and it was funny. In the last video, I made a reference to that movie with John Travolta and the music, and I've been listening to so much music. This deck traditionally does have embossing on the sides, but I modified it because I felt like the glitter was coming off too much. So this one is a cut deck, but it is available on Etsy, and with it we have a beautiful obsidian stone. But I'll go ahead and give you a minute. If you need more time, please pause the video, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, we're back. I'm going to go ahead and move up these other decks. It's so funny if you see that I have like a million band-aids on. I bought a new table to hold, like, it's like a work kind of console, which I was really excited to get. It looks beautiful, but it was amazing how it was assembling. The bottom part of it is like a file cabinet, and it was amazing how difficult I had to. Oh, it took me so many hours, and I was starting to get real frustrated. But I accidentally gave myself a splinter, and oh my gosh, guys, you talk about Page of Cups. Oh, I don't think I've had a splinter in my hand since like the third grade, and it hurt so bad. I was so grateful, and it's amazing how one little piece of wood, one little splinter of wood, and it was in my finger, and you think of how many nerve endings you have in your hand. But it's amazing how it turned a grown woman into a big old baby. I was such a baby. I wasn't even bleeding that much, but I was just like, oh my God. And so here I am. I'm calling my family, and I'm like, okay, if I can't get it out, will you come over and like hold me down and poke me with a needle? And I'm so glad that my family member did not have to do that. I got it out myself, which I was very proud, but I was sniffling and tearing up, and it was like doing surgery on myself. But oh my gosh, guys. But you talk about the Page of Cups, like I was all in my fields, but it's amazing. Oh, that's so sweet. I got the High Priestess. But yeah, I'm sorry. It's been a crazy week. All right, enough blabbing. Let's get started. So we've got deck number one, Rider Waite Smith. No, I was right. Rider Waite Smith. How does the Page of Cups manifest in your life currently? Oh wow, guys, you got another page. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of read this together, and then future energy. Wow. Okay, I'm getting a very clear message here, guys. This is amazing. Okay, let's go ahead and see what your... Oh. Wow, and that was on the bottom of the deck, guys. Earlier I was reading it more of the song from the movie, the Bee Gees song, but wow, guys, I am seeing a clear message. Wow, this is amazing. You got some major here, but don't fret. There are no bad cards in tarot, and we read them together. Now, wow, guys, in the past, you got the Tower and you got the Page of Swords. Because there are two pages here, this quite possibly could involve children. So the Page of Childs. Oh my gosh, see, it's already coming out unconsciously. This could be a child. It could be a child that you have with someone. And what it is it's almost like you had to wrap your head around the, how when you find out that you're going to be a parent and it's totally shocking, maybe you weren't ready, or it was an unexpected pregnancy. It's almost like kind of learning or getting the news kind of rocked your world, right? Like maybe you were not at the stage where you were ready to have a kid, or just getting the news. It's like, oh my God, because it's going to change your whole world, right? It's going to change your whole world. One other way that I can kind of read this is that if this doesn't involve a child, it could be that you had maybe you really, there was something that you kind of saw on social media or some kind of interaction. The other thing that I kind of get is that you feel like it's juvenile interaction, like maybe someone's posting things or saying things about you that just really almost like the breakdown of a friendship or the breakdown of a relationship. You kind of see here. And the other thing I kind of get is that there's a lot of exchange that this isn't mature energy at all. There's very childish kind of energy here, and it's not in a bad way. It's just it's not. This isn't a king or queen. These are both pages. So I kind of get the sense like maybe someone is cutting you down verbally, and they're doing it kind of in that immature kind of way, or the other thing is that I kind of get the sense like someone kind of hit you out of the blue, and maybe it was with a text message or something like that, maybe someone said, "Oh, I'm breaking up with you," or, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're fired," or, you know, something came out of the blue in this kind of, basic way. It was like a direct message that just kind of rocked your world, right? If it is a child, it's like the communication with the parent, the other parent, or your partner is not good. And it's almost like instead of, coming together or becoming more joint, over the raising of the child, it's almost like everything's breaking down, right? The other thing that I kind of get is that if this is either work related or family related, there's a lot of words being thrown back and forth. It could be text messages, it can be emails, but it's slowly eroding your world, right? Things are breaking down. And maybe you have to move, maybe you have to change jobs, but it just, everything feels like everything, the communication that you're getting is not mature. And it's almost like I'm getting the sense like you almost feel like you have to stay in a very open emotional state to roll with the punches, right? You have to ride the waves of this change that's occurring for you. Now, what I kind of get with this is that this is really amazing, guys, is that this flipped out and tapped, which is the Four of Wands. And then you've got the Nine of Cups, but then you've also got the Devil and then the Page of Cups. I really get the sense like maybe you had like a different game plan for your life. Maybe you expected to, move to the West Coast and get a new house, but something happened. Something happened that threw, knocked over your apple cart, and it's leaving you obligated to something. I'm not seeing, up until now, I'm not seeing any pentacles. So, but I am seeing cups. So I do get the feeling like this is some kind of an emotional attachment, some kind of emotional codependency. And I really get the sense this might be related to a child. Maybe you got pregnant with someone and it rocked your world. But you have this wonderful little one. But the thing is, because what I'm seeing is I'm seeing two people falling here and then two people shackled together here. Now, what it is reminding you is that this is a blessing. I've always said, the surprise babies, because again, the surprise ones, maybe they're a water sign, the surprise babies are always the sweetest ones. They really are. But what I'm kind of getting here is that with the Four of Wands, it's almost like, I get the sense that it's almost like the other thing that I kind of get is that if this doesn't involve a child, maybe you're trying to be emotionally adaptive because things in your life are just not going really right now. If you are a child, this could be a divorce of parents, where you're kind of in an environment that feels like this, feels really obligated. Like again, you're in an environment that doesn't feel comfortable. And it's almost like you have to kind of escape into your own imagination, or you have to kind of be kind of emotionally neutral to deal with all the parties that are involved. But what I kind of get is that there's some kind of blessing in disguise here. There's some kind of blessing in disguise. You're going through a lot of change, and that probably feels really uncomfortable. But I'm seeing like the waves. You're riding the waves is what I'm getting. And I do think that you might still be kind of codependent on someone, or you have to cooperate with someone. But believe it or not, this is kind of like a blessing in disguise. The other thing that I kind of get is that I feel like there might be a house involved here. Maybe there's some kind of home that maybe you purchased a home with someone and you're in shared custody, either of a child or of a property. But what I'm kind of getting here is that for as much change as you've gone through, as dramatic as it was sudden, it was shocking, and it does leave you kind of codependent on someone, or someone codependent on you, right? Like you have obligations that you can't just drop and walk away from. I get the sense that these are really blessings. They're really blessings. It's almost like giving you everything that you could ever want, right? So there, it is a blessing in disguise. But I do see that you have to cooperate with someone, and it might feel like you're chained down, you know. Um, the other thing that I kind of get is that one other thing I get with the two fours here is it quite, if you're younger, this could be that you do have a family environment where you have maybe divorced parents, and you love both of your parents equally in different ways, and between the two of them you get like a full life. It's just, there's tension because, maybe you stay with one parent a certain part of the time and you stay with another parent the other part of the time. um, the other thing I kind of get is that if this is your child or you have a child, it's almost like you have to cooperate with someone else, with the other parent. But you from this cooperation, even though it's uncomfortable, you get the joy of having a home with your little one, right? You do. It does give you a blessing. I'm just going to get a clarifier here for this. Can I get one? Ooh, Ace of Cups and Temperance. Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. Yeah, you have to balance something out. You have to balance something out, but it gives you so much. It's a blessing. It's like these are beginnings too. It's like a joyous new beginning. Um, One other way that I kind of see this, and again, if it doesn't involve children at all, it's quite possible that in the past, maybe you kept things on a real superficial level. And what it's kind of telling you is that in order for you, I think you might have some fear about really connecting to someone on an emotional level. Like maybe you're afraid to tell someone how you really feel. So you kind of keep it on a surface level. But that is not serving you, and the universe really wants you to break down, like get away from that kind of emotional response. Because the thing is that you might have some like early childhood conditioning that's really affecting you. It's preventing you from establishing really deep emotional relationships. And it's almost like saying, beneath that sense of codependency, beneath those fears, because that's the other thing. I think you're afraid to open up to someone because you're afraid that you'll get it's almost like you're afraid of someone controlling you. If you show someone how you really feel, you're afraid of them controlling you with that. But what I'm seeing here is that if you can balance those emotions, if you can say, okay, this is okay. Yes, it feels uncomfortable to be so open and vulnerable. But if you really show someone how you feel, that'll give you victory. It'll give you blessings. Like it'll give you what you're looking for. And that might even be like a home and family. Like it could be new love, like a really deep new love. Now, the future is interesting. The future is the Six of Pentacles. And what I'm kind of getting here is that, yeah, I do kind of sense like I am getting a vibe like this might involve a child. Um, um, and what's kind of happening is that maybe you have to make amends, or kind of smooth things over with your spouse or the father or mother of your child. But that's gonna, that cooperation is gonna allow you to move on with your life and move forward to new things and new love and new happiness. But I do see in the future with the Six of Pentacles, it's almost like there might be some alimony or child support that's involved in here, because now we're starting to see a Pentacles card. So again, I'm getting the sense almost like you have to make amends, right? The other thing I kind of get with this is that if you did have a baby with someone and that person was not immediately stepping up, it's almost like moving forward they are. They're gonna do what they need to do to take care of you. Um, the other thing that I kind of get from this is that, yeah, I am getting like a child vibe here, guys, with this pile. But if it doesn't involve children, I do just think that it's almost like, um, you know, it's almost like you kind of have to allow yourself to be vulnerable, right? The other thing about the Pentacles is like the Six of Pentacles is about being fair, right? It's about, if one person has what you feel like is more than you, they can share with you. And remember how I said that Virgo, the cure for Pisces is Virgo, right? The cure for this dreamy energy is practicality. So maybe in your relationships moving forward, someone will give to you. Or the other thing I kind of see is that maybe you have a mentor that kind of teaches you that practicality, that, helps you be open like this, open emotionally. But I am getting kind of almost like you have to be fair with your endeavors. If you are dealing with someone who's the parent of your child or something like that, this is a blessing. The fact that you have a little one that's so, is a blessing. You might feel a little tied down, but if you stay fair, if you say, okay, I'm going to do, the other thing is stepping up, right? Stepping up, if you balance things out, even if you move forward with your life with someone else, you still want to be fair, both financially and emotionally to the parent, your co-parent of your child. And I really kind of get that with your Oracle card, because it says staying alive, right? Staying alive. And actually in that movie there was a subplot of somebody having a child, and that is, it's very scary, it's very intimidating. It's almost like, I know it's so hard, when you have these kind of life changes. The other thing that I kind of get from this is that if some kind of major event occurred where you feel like you're financially, like you either own a home or there's something that you share. Believe it or not, I'm seeing a strong message of it being a blessing in disguise. All of this change might feel really uncomfortable at the time, but it's gonna allow for a lot of balance. The other thing is it's gonna allow you for a really wonderful new beginning, because you have the Ace of Cups, the Four of Wands, and the Nine of Cups. So I really do think that it's almost like you have to balance out this energy, whatever codependency that you feel. Try to be flexible with it, because it will bring you a lot of happiness, and you'll have that balance moving forward. If you have not been treated fairly financially, you're going to get your due. If you need to take care of someone else financially, you're going to be strong enough to do that moving forward. And it's almost like you're going to be fair, right? You're going to be fair. And staying alive, I really get this. I do think of that movie with John Travolta. Like, the other thing is, in that movie, he really had a lot of dreams. That's the other thing, is that he had a lot of dreams about, being a dancer, and his family wanted him to do something more practical with his life. But I do think that if you follow your dreams, whatever it is that you want to do, as long as you're fair about it, stay, don't neglect your obligations. But and just keep swimming is kind of what I'm getting from this. Do what you got to do, and it's going to bring you a lot of blessings. And if you have had some shocking things happen, if there were some unexpected events, those really are blessings. They really are. They're going to bring you so much joy. And moving forward in your life, you can bring that. If it means a new relationship or a new phase of your life, you're going to bring those blessings with you. But, well, guys, oh my gosh, that was a deep one. All right, so moving on. Deck number 2, we've got the Witch's Tarot by Ellen Dugan. All of these pages are so cute. They really are. So let's go ahead and see, how does the Page of Cups manifest in your life? Ooh, guys. Oh, another Page of Wands. Oh my gosh, guys. Your future energy. Okay. Yeah, I am getting a lot of family vibes from this, guys. I really am. But, ooh, you saw that, right? Oh, that's beautiful message, guys. So, wow, guys, in the past, we got the Five of Pentacles. And this is a powerful card because you see the little wilted flower. And if you're in North America right now, we are just coming out of winter. I think in the past, again, maybe you've been impacted by the pandemic, maybe, things going on in the world. Um, you know, this could be financial. I do get a strong sense, like with the cold, in this scene, the winter of the screen. I feel like you've really kind of, you talk about you've heard the phrase winter of our discontent. I think you've been through a long, cold phase, and it could be financially. Maybe you've barely been, paycheck to paycheck. Maybe, maybe money's been kind of tight. Maybe you've been impacted by world events, and it's just been really hard to kind of make ends meet. But the Five of Pentacles really talks about being on hard times, right? You've really had hard times. Now, again, I am also getting another family vibe. I'm getting the Page of Cups as being like a child. Because I kind of in my head asked for clarification, and I opened to the Ten of Cups and the Two of Pentacles. So I kind of read that one of two ways. If you do not have children, this could be you just kind of feeling like life has been really hard. Again, like you're escaping into your imagination. You have a lot of dreams, but you just feel like those dreams are just not coming true. Or again, to get away from the hardship, you're escaping into your imagination. You might be doing something creative. The other thing, but with the Ten of Cups being more of like a family card, like that happiness money can't buy, and the Two of Pentacles being kind of like a balancing act, it's quite possible that maybe you've been working two jobs, or maybe you've been juggling to try to make ends meet. The other thing that I kind of get is that maybe you work kind of more of a practical job, like it might be more of a 9 to 5. It's not, doesn't earn buckets of money, and it's a little bit mundane, a little bit of repetitive, but earns an income. And but you might have dreams of something much bigger or something more creative. You just don't know how you're going to get there. Now, underneath the page, the present energy, you've got the Page of Wands, and you got the Eight of Swords. So, yeah, I'm definitely getting a strong sense that you do feel kind of trapped in your head. What I get is that you see how this page looks like he's calling out. Page of Wands is really about being like impulsive and excited about something. I kind of feel like I do get the sense that you feel like it's almost like you want to dare. You're getting called, because we talked about the page being like that intuitive kind of hit, like something calling to you to try something new. I get with these two pages that your intuition and your sense of action is trying to get you to do something new, but you feel kind of trapped. You keep telling yourself, I can't do it. I can't do it, or I won't make any money. I shouldn't. It's almost like you're afraid to do anything reckless, right? But with the Ten of Cups and the Two of Pentacles, I'm seeing that I'm seeing almost kind of like a transition. Like it's almost like maybe, working the day job and then going to art school at night, something like that. The other thing I get is if these are children, it's almost like you want to dare to do something new, but you're afraid of not being there to support your children, and finances have been hard. Like you've been doing the juggling act, right? The other thing that I kind of get is that you might have had, I keep hearing feast or famine. You might have some kind of job that either works off commission or has been impacted by world events, where it's like one minute you're making enough money, but it's almost like you have to squirrel away that money because the next paycheck might not be as much. And in the past, you have had some really hard times. Like the other thing, I'm really getting a sense, and I'm so sorry, guys, if this is true. I'm getting a sense like the heat being cut off, or you having to turn the temperature on the heat down because the electric bill is high. That's what I'm kind of getting. It's almost like you're remembering how tough it's been in the past, and you don't want to you don't want to risk anything. But you have this instinct to go for something, and you're really excited about it. The other thing is you might have an opportunity to do something kind of creative, and I think it would make you really happy because that Ten of Cups popped out. But And the other thing I get is that you don't have to give up your stability to do it. You just might have to juggle a little bit. You might have to kind of try to balance it. And that might be, extra work. But what I'm kind of getting is in present energy, it's almost like you're afraid to, you think that you can't do it, or the memory of past events is making you cautious, to the point where you're not listening to your intuition, or you're afraid to go after that opportunity. The other thing I kind of get is that if this involves a family, it's almost like you're juggling, to make sure that you always have enough for your kids. You don't want to risk doing anything out of the ordinary. um, Now, as you move forward, you got the Knight of Swords. You got a lot of swords energy, guys. You definitely have a lot going on in your head. Um, I really get the sense, like, moving forward, you might be endeavoring something that's kind of IT related. Maybe you're doing something with electronics, or social media. Um, and but what I kind of get is that, the other thing I kind of get is that if this is some kind of opportunity to do something creative, the other thing that I'm strongly feeling is that this is an instinct. This idea of what you want to do is coming through like a psychic hit. It's like a dream, or how it's I call them road signs. Just like I've been focused on music a lot lately. Songs in I'm hearing song lyrics that remind me of a time in my childhood, or I'm looking at fashion trends from when I was a teenager, and it's a symbol that's speaking to me. It's giving me ideas. And that's kind of what I'm sensing here. There's something that's coming through to you kind of psychically. You're excited about it. It would be really exciting to pursue this, but you're almost telling yourself, no, I can't do it. You're holding yourself back. Now, I see in the future you're not going to hold yourself back anymore. You're going to go forward with it. But it's almost like, what I am kind of getting is, because I did see the Ten of Cups and the Two of Pentacles, it is telling you that you can achieve what you want to achieve, but you are going to have to balance it. You can kind of bridge into this new idea, but don't give up the old, because remember, the Page of Cups can be the baby with the bathwater kind of energy. So it is kind of just telling you that, don't quit your day job. If there's something that you are interested in doing, learn more about it. Maybe you start taking classes at night or something. I get the sense that you're really going to pursue it mentally. Like, maybe this is something that's really, as you move forward, it's going to enthrall you really mentally. You're going to want to go full speed ahead. Um, the other thing that I kind of get is that, one other thing with the Page of Cups energy is sometimes the Page of Cups is that dreamy energy where you think, okay, well, I'm just going to quit my day job and start this new job and I'll be okay. It is cautioning you that you don't want to do that. The other thing is that you don't want to jump from thing to thing too fast. The ideas that you're having are valid. I do think that you're getting hits of like intuition of how you can move forward. And there's no harm in pursuing something that you're passionate about. But these are pages, so they're new energy. They're not kings or queens. They're not seasoned. You're starting off on learning this. And it is saying, don't hold yourself back. Go ahead and, dip your foot in the water, but maybe you want to just kind of balance things, keep your day job, maybe do things, how they always say, get a plan and kind of break it down into manageable pieces. And this really plays into your oracle card because it says content with what I already have, right? So I am kind of getting, I'm getting the sense that you can kind of transition from where you were in the past to where you want to be. The other thing I get is that this is page energy and this is knight energy. So a knight is one step up from a page. So I really get the sense that, don't hold yourself back, because I do think you're afraid of doing anything impulsive. But I would say follow, and again, with the Page of Cups, it's follow the white rabbit, right? If you get a symbol or you think something is standing out to you, go ahead and explore it, because that's the other thing Knight of Wands, Knight of Swords do. Go ahead and explore it. But also, if you have had financial hardship, you probably do want to bunker down a little bit, but be content with what you have, and maybe explore some of those dreams. If there was a topic or some kind of outlet that was appealing to you, go ahead and go on a mission and explore that. I think it really would open up your mind. And then see, just kind of take it and break it down into manageable pieces. Maybe if there's something that you're looking to do, maybe you're learning to study maybe you're in one job that's not really fulfilling, and you're like, oh, okay, I really like cybersecurity. Maybe take, one of those one-time courses and learn and see, go on a few missions, still balance your daily life. The other thing that I am kind of getting from this is that sometimes, the Eight of Swords is really about staying stuck in your head. So it is about saying that you can do it. You just have to believe you can do it. And with Page energy, that's really about like saying, yes, I can. But with the content with what I already have, I do. And that with the Page energy is really just kind of like jumping from thing to thing to thing. And that will leave you in the Five of Pentacles energy, just because you're starting projects, but you're not really finishing them. So therefore, they're not really paying off. You know what I mean? When you start a project and then just leave it, that's when it doesn't pay, it's like a broken circle. The circle is broken, where you haven't followed through enough for it to pay you back with either money or experience. So I do think that it is just telling you to kind of balance those energies. Yes, you can follow these new ideas. It wants you to follow those ideas. You're completely capable of doing it. But go ahead and just explore. That's what Knights do. They explore. And I think open your mind to it. Don't quit your day job. And the other thing that I kind of get with this is be content with what you've already accomplished as well. Because sometimes the Knight of Swords really runs off. He is a little bit of that, he is that energy of, oh, look, there's a new idea. Let me run after it. Because he's running full speed, right? So that's completely okay. That's how we learn new things. But you do also want to be content with what you already have. One thing that I've learned in my daily life is that sometimes, like in my day job, there are days when it does feel like the dirge. There are days when it seems really boring. But one way that I kind of keep my spirits up is when I stop and just kind of ask myself, what is it that I love about what I do? What is unique about what I do that I would not do if I went to another job tomorrow, I wouldn't be able to do anymore. Sometimes that appreciation, oh wow, I get to help people. If I was, just doing a back office job where, I don't talk to anyone, I'm helping people, but sometimes you have to pause and appreciate what it is that you already do. Sometimes we do it so much that we don't really appreciate it. But I do get a strong sense that you have some great new ideas coming in. Explore those ideas. Don't shelf them. Explore those ideas, but also appreciate what you have already, because you have a lot. And then I am getting like a bridge energy, like, explore new things, and then later you can kind of transition into those things. And anytime you're grateful for what you have, the universe will send you more. So, wow, guys, that was really deep. I love this. And that's the beautiful thing about this energy, is that Page energy, especially the Page of Cups, it's so, you see how sweet and kind of altruistic it is? It's just so open. I really love that. All right, so last but not least, we've got the Slow Tarot by Lacey Bryant. How does the Page of Cups manifest in your life? Did we get a flipper? No, okay. How does the page, okay. Future energy. Okay, please clarify the header. Oh my gosh, second time we've got the Eight of Swords in like a pinned position. And the Hermit's trying to pop out. Six of Coins. Wow, guys, I am getting a strong story here. This is really cute. And again, I love the pages in these decks. These are just like my favorite. But in the past, we got the Three of Wands. And actually, you see three people here. Three of Wands is about waiting for your ships to come in, right? It's waiting for your ships to come in. And again, with the Page of Cups, it's a real innocent energy. It's quite possible that maybe you started some kind of work project or some kind of collaboration with someone. And in the past, you were just kind of waiting to see where it would go, right? One thing about the Three of Wands is that in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, there's one person in the Three of Wands card, and here you have three people. So I am getting a sense like maybe this was some kind of team project. Maybe you have, maybe you started something with either friends or other colleagues. Maybe you work, maybe if this is a work project, you have two other people that are collaborators, someone that you work with. And what you're doing is you had great expectations for what it is that you were doing. Again, the Page of Cups is a very dreamy energy. It's like I do think of the Page of Cups as that creative visualization where you just imagine how everything, again, like the daydreams of a child. You're just imagining everything, you know, sunny skies and everything being perfect the way that you want it to be. But I am getting the sense that possibly you and maybe other people as well, if you work in a team, you're waiting for some kind of outcome. You're waiting for some kind of outcome. And what I'm seeing here is that your present energy, you know, so again, maybe you started something and you're kind of waiting for the proceeds from that effort to come to you. The other thing that I kind of get is that maybe you started something, and in order to continue that project, maybe you need materials, or maybe you need some kind of support. The other thing that I kind of get is that this could be a green light, like you might need to get the green light from someone in order to go forward. It's funny, there's no pentacles in this, but I am getting a little bit of a work vibe from this, surprisingly enough. Is this work related? Let's just see. No, it's the Lovers. Okay. And the Hermit again. Okay, the Hermit really wants to pop out. Now, wow, guys, with the Lovers in play, I kind of read this a different way. Maybe you kind of started off, I'm sensing that if this is relationship related, maybe you started off with friends with someone. The other thing is maybe you met this person through some kind of collaborative group. Maybe you took some kind of class, or maybe you could work together, or you met through friends. And again, it was just I'm really drawn to the way these people are standing side by side. It's almost like you're doing things together. The other thing is that you see this person pointing out to the distance. Maybe you were really leading others in a direction, and you were starting off on a new path. I do get the sense like maybe there was, again, some kind of dream that you all shared, and that you were kind of the leader of. But what I see in the current energy is that with the Lovers, again, I know I said, the Page of Cups could be a baby. The Hierophant definitely means marriage or commitment. And with the Eight of Swords underneath, it could be that maybe you're a little bit hesitant about commitment when it comes to a child. Possibly with the Three of Wands, it could be the expectation of a baby, like you're waiting for the baby to arrive. Because the other thing is that the Three of Wands is being at the ocean front, waiting for your ships to come in, and you see this little guy, he's standing in the waves, right? Like, hello, surprise, right? So, and it could be a little boy, but so what I'm kind of getting is that if you were expecting and you were waiting for a baby to arrive, and maybe the expectation was that you get engaged and married because somebody is pregnant. I get the sense with the hermit, it's almost like you're hesitant. You want to do the right thing in the eyes of your religion and what's expected of you by the eyes of society, but it makes you feel trapped, right? You see how this person looks really tied up, and with the hermit, it's almost like you're pulling back, you're taking no action, so you can think about what the best course of action is to take. Um, the other thing that I kind of get is that if this is a child, maybe it was very unexpected. Again, with the one other thing that I didn't touch on in the intro is when you see the fish, you know, you kind of think of a swimmer. And not to get too graphic, all of my videos are over 18, but when you think about that in a sexual context, it can be, you know, the seed of a man, you know. So, you know, this could be the culmination of something that occurred. And with the Three of Wands, again, it could have been just like a casual relationship where you were friends or you were colleagues or you knew each other, and you didn't expect that to happen. But you know, the Lovers and the Hermit, it's like, okay, it's the Hermit. The Hermit goes up to the mountaintop to reflect on the events of his life and to decide the best course of action, right? Like they're it's in retrospect. They're looking back on their life. Um, but this present energy here shows a little one, and this one, your child might be a little older at this point. And it's one of those things where there might be pressure from either, you know, from either families or religious expectations that you get married, or you know um, that you do what's right, you know, regarding a child, and you might feel trapped by that, like you're hesitant, you don't feel like it's the right course of action. Now, one other way I kind of read this too is that it's quite possible that maybe I always look at, for some reason, when I look at the clothes on these people, I kind of look at you know how a lot of wait staff kind of have, like a waiter has a uniform. And actually, the Temperance card kind of has a waiter in too. But you know how a waiter or a waitress kind of wears black pants and a white shirt. You know, that's usually the kind of the uniform that you see here. Um, you know, when you serve others. Um, Maybe, you know, and you see how the jackets are off there. Maybe in the past you really, you kind of wanted to live a life like, so if it doesn't involve a child, maybe you really, in the past, you had big dreams, and again, you know, you're kind of looking out to the vista. The other thing that I get with the Three of Wands is it's about individual leadership. It's that leadership where you make your own, you're being trailblazing, right? You're finding your own way, you're making your own path, and you have others who follow you, right? So it's quite possible that maybe you started some kind of project and you were very, you know, you were a pioneer with it. um, and you might have some kind of present offer, um, where you can, you know, you might either have a new dream or some kind of present offer. But it's almost, what I kind of get from this is like, it's almost feels like it's, you feel like the status quo is pressuring you to not be so dreamy, right? And it makes you feel conflicted, makes you feel trapped, right? Maybe you have folks telling you, you know, again, I kind of get this energy like maybe you're in college to study art history, and your parents are like, no, you need to be a lawyer or a doctor, you're never going to make it in life. And you're over here and you're living your dream, right? You're blazing your own trail, but there's some kind of pressure from society or the status quo that you not be that way. um, but you know, with the Lovers and the Hermit here, the Lovers is can be a choice, because that's what's making me think about it. um, the other thing that I kind of get is that maybe you are making a choice whether or not to continue kind of following your dreamy path, or whether or not you should conform to more societal expected expectations of you. So again, you might have people in your ear. It could be family. It could be, mentors or bosses, even really. Those in your field of influence that are telling you, okay, you need to grow up. You can't remain in this daydreamy way about you. One other way that I kind of see it here is that the one last way as well is that maybe you are getting some spiritual guidance, like maybe you have a mentor, or you're learning a new spiritual way to connect to the universe. Like maybe in the past you just felt really blocked, like you didn't have any inspiration, because the Three of Wands can be like waiting for your ships to come in, and if things never change and you're just waiting, what do? You make a change, right? You make and maybe that's what you're doing, is that the Lovers is a choice, and the Hermit is like thinking about your past, like, okay, what's happened in the past. And they always say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. You can't just sit on the shore. If you don't see any ships in the distance, are you going to just sit on the shore and wait indefinitely? No, you're going to try to have new creative ideas. You're going to go in a new direction, right? I do sense that maybe you've been feeling kind of blocked. That's another thing here, is also maybe in the past you have, tried different creative things, and maybe presently you feel like your inspiration is dried up, or maybe you feel like you haven't been able to follow your heart, and it makes you feel kind of trapped. So maybe you've sought out a spiritual teacher. Here it's depicted, the Hierophant's always depicted as a priest, but it can be any spiritual teacher. It can be a yogi, it can be someone teaching you Buddhism, it can be someone teaching you yoga, or meditation. And maybe that practice has opened you up and gotten you, in a very innocent way, it's opened you back up to that connection with the universe, and you're starting to feel imaginative again. The other thing that I kind of get is that maybe in the past you did have a relationship that really changed your worldview. It made you not open anymore, like it prevented you from being open, and now you're trying to work through those emotions, and you might be doing it through some form of spiritualism. That can be traditional religion like Christianity, or it can be could be tarot. Any of that is really starting to open you back up to your feelings again. One other thing that I get is that you might have had one prevalent relationship in your past that maybe if that didn't work out, or with the Hermit, it's quite possible that you might be reflecting on past relationships and wondering if you should be open with this new person, but you feel really connected to them. You might be, again, turning to spiritualism to try to get answers. Or you feel like, I am getting kind of a sense like something about the status quo is making you feel a little bit. You know what, here I am getting a sense like in the past you feel trapped by your thoughts, and you're turning to some kind of spiritual belief system or some kind of mentor to help open you up. You know? Or quite possibly, just to put it out there, maybe with it being the Lovers and the Hermit, maybe you've met someone who really opens you up to your spirituality. Like you haven't felt this open, like you haven't given your heart so unguardedly to anyone in a really long time. That can be it too. You've waited a long time, and then you met someone, and it's almost like this person is like your spiritual mentor. And they don't have to, they don't even have to be like a priest or something spiritual, but maybe you just met someone who really opens you up to your sensitivity, and they get you unblocked, right? Just the things they say to you, they get you to be like this child. They open up your heart center. And then what I see is, this is really beautiful, guys, is that moving forward you've got the Eight of Pentacles, or I'm sorry, the Eight of Wands. It's like full speed ahead. it's almost like you've been waiting for so long to open up your heart space. And oh my gosh, I almost forgot your oracle. Let's get your oracle card. What message do we have for pile 3, please? What message do we have for pile 3? Oh, here we go. This is sticking out. Oh, curiosity. Look at that, guys. That's really beautiful. But yeah, again, you know, I think in the past maybe you were really, it feels like, I think you are really good about blazing trails. I think you're a creative person, and I think you're really imaginative. But I just get the sense like in the past you were really good about exploring and doing new things, and then something blocked you. And again, seeing the Lovers and the Hermit, it could have been a relationship. Maybe a relationship really kind of impacted you. And it's almost like you got to get your mojo back. Like it's like you have to open up your connection to the universe again. One other thing I get is I am getting a connection to the ocean too. I don't know if you like to go to the beach, or there's something about walking in the water that just feels really cleansing to you. But I get the sense that once you reopen yourself again, once you get out of the Eight of Swords energy, and this spiritualism, you know, brings back your sense of childlike intuition, it's going to be full speed ahead. It's going to be full speed ahead, whether that's in your creative endeavors or in love. I just think that there's something very authentic about the way that you connect to people from your heart center. It's like you have that thoughtfulness like a child, and I think once you let that be free, it's really going to open you up to a lot of blessings. And what I love about this is just like the Page of Cups is so open ended. It's not even saying what type of blessings. You know, it's not even saying like financial or romantic or love or, you know. I'll just see. Okay, Eight of Wands. Empress. There you go. Yeah. Again, that's kind of like the whole kit and caboodle, guys. It's just like saying, okay, you'll go from being the page to the Empress. That's like, and you can be a man in this energy. It just means you'll be full speed ahead. The Empress is about abundance. She nurtures other people. She has everything that she needs financially, emotionally. She is the culmination of all four queens. You know, so she's got the money. Oh, that's perfect, guys. Again, remember how I said it's open-ended. It's not even saying what type of abundance. She's the embodiment of all four queens. The mind, the with the swords, pentacles with the money, cups with the emotions, and wands with the creativity and the passion. And here we have your oracle card is so amazing, guys. You got curiosity. I really do get the sense like the world is your marble, right? The world is your marble. Um, I think your sense of curiosity really will nurture the world. And I know that sounds so like a tall order. I think you've been blocked. I think you've been blocked. And it's funny. I feel like your normal energy is very outgoing. It's almost like I keep hearing, you know, getting your groove back, getting your groove back. And it is I think it's through some kind of spiritual venue. You know, maybe you're learning cards. Maybe you're watching this video because you're learning cards to help um, you know, get out of like a stuck energy. You know, either that or you might have some kind of spiritual mentor. Like, again, you know, maybe you're going to church again after a long hiatus. Maybe you're talking to a priest. Maybe you're talking to a therapist or a counselor. I really get more of a spiritual vibe, though, but I get a mentor. There's some kind of spiritual mentor. And once you actually let yourself be kind of open, you know, like get into that Page of Cups energy, and I am getting kind of psychic hits, like almost like you open the line of communication with your higher power. It will really work through you, and it'll give you that groove back, and it's just going to be like, you know, like firing on all cylinders. Like you'll move ahead, and you'll not only nurture other people, but that abundance will come back to you, you know, in all ways, intellectually, creativity, you know, creatively, emotionally, financially. um But I do think I do also think that the universe wants you to be curious. It's almost like it wants you to, again, these intuitions come in a very strange kind of way. They come as instinct, or just symbols that you're attracted to. So, but wow, guys, that was a really powerful reading. All three of them were really, really great. But I thank you so much for joining me today. I do post a reading every Saturday, the weekly energy card reading. So if you get a chance, please check that out. And if not, I'll join you next Tuesday, and we'll be talking about the Knight of Cups. So I hope you have a good week, and see you next time. Bye.